Palestine derangement syndrome. Is it a mind virus? And if so, what's causing it? I'm Granny Opterix. So here's an example of Palestine derangement syndrome as it affected Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, who's the leader of the opposition party in Parliament. Let's have a look at this.
How many more children in Palestine have to die before you call for a ceasefire? Over 7,000 children.
I just want to point something out here. He is suggesting that Keir Starmer's silence on the matter of the ceasefire is the cause of the continued war. And I just want you to mark how deep this paranoia has reached into this man's mind. Okay, let's carry on.
Have died. Over 7,000 children have been slaughtered by Israel. This is unacceptable. What happened to human rights? What happened to democracy? We call for peace, we call for democracy. We don't see any of that when it comes to the Palestinians. 7,000 children, how many more have to die? 20,000 people, how many more people have to die? This is unacceptable. Where is your humanity? Sir, where is your humanity? Please don't touch me. Please do not touch me.
He doesn't like to be touched. I think he's already been touched. Okay, and I'm interrupting myself here to remind you to click like, to subscribe and to share. And if you're on YouTube, remember to click the notification bell. All the links to my other channels are in the description, including links to donation sites. I'm always grateful for donations, of course, but just clicking like is the best thing you can do for this video and my channel generally. And I'm reminding you that the Christmas 2023 competition is now open. The link to the video telling you all about it is also in the description. He's harassing the opposition leader on the train, shouting about the ceasefire and the 7,000 Palestinian babies and getting very worked up about it. Look, anyone should get worked up about babies dying. I do. But I am puzzled why he wasn't shouting about Starmer taking a stand on something like this, for instance. This is a research briefing from the House of Commons Library Research Unit, and it's about the Syrian civil war. It's over 12 years, they say, since the conflict in Syria began. The conflict has killed more than 350,000 people and caused the displacement of half the Syrian population. Chemical weapons have also been used, and children were on the receiving end of these chemical weapons. And indeed, even if they weren't, then the displacement, the disruption of their education, the starvation, the loss of family, all the rest of it will have affected a lot more than 7,000 babies. And he doesn't seem to be talking to Starmer about that. Okay, well, you can say, maybe you can say he doesn't think Starmer can do anything about it. So let us proceed. This is a document from an organisation called NPR, but I've seen this on other things as well. How modern-day slavery in the Congo powers the rechargeable battery economy. And this is a kid, looks to be in his early teens, carrying a heavy sack of rocks, no doubt. And this is how we power our smartphones and indeed the computer on which I am making this video. And we can certainly do something about the conditions that these children, and they're, I mean, really children, this is a picture of a teenager. I've seen other photos of, well, they look like 10-year-olds, maybe a little less. They're among the rubbish dumps, picking out bits of copper and stuff from the rubbish that they can sell for next to nothing to exploiters. Okay. Now, there's also this, of course, the war on Yemen civilians. The UN has estimated that the war in Yemen has killed 377,000 people by the end of 2021. So the number's probably somewhat larger by now. Through direct and indirect causes, over 150,000 of these deaths are the direct result of the armed conflict, while far more have died due to hunger and disease as a result of the humanitarian crisis. And again, the worst, the most affected sufferers will be babies. We've all seen the photos of the skeletal babies being brought to medical centres here and there. And that actually is one thing that Starmer really could do something about, because our arms industries are fueling the Saudi war there. And our army is training the Saudi army. Apparently their justification is they're making them a bit more accurate in their shooting, so they're not shooting so many children at weddings. But they don't mind shooting weddings, funerals, schools, and that is something that Starmer could do something about. And far more children are being affected by that than what's happening in Gaza. But this Palestinian derangement here is shouting about Starmer's lack of enthusiasm with regard to Gaza, as if all Starmer had to do was give the word and Israel would go, sorry, Gov. Yeah, well, we'll see. Seeing as you say so, we'll stop at once. How much does that idiot think Israel would listen to orders from the British government anyway, but least of all from an opposition MP heading a party of people like Diane Abbott and Ginger Growler Rayner? This guy really does have a weird sense of Starmer's importance. Anyway, then this guy follows Starmer. Let's find that again. Follows Starmer off the train and starts shouting one slogan after the other at him. Let's go ahead a bit. Oh, here we are.
Keir Starmer, you are facilitating Israel's genocide in Gaza.
Right, now, how is Starmer facilitating the genocide in Gaza? First of all, there isn't a genocide. So that's one slogan he comes up with, you know, the key word he's been taught. And then stop the killing of children. Well, yeah, OK, that's a slogan as well. 7,000 babies. Yeah, well, that's a Hamas figure. Look, if just one baby got killed, it would be tragic enough. So I'm not complaining about that. But yeah, all Hamas has to do is surrender and it'll all stop, won't it? But they're not going to do that. Anyway, he's not thinking about that, just the massacre of over 7,000 babies.
Freedom for Palestine!
Yeah, there's a good slogan.
Stop the genocide!
Stop the genocide, there's another slogan.
Responsible for killing babies in Gaza!
Starmer doesn't have a single thing, as little as I like Starmer or the Labour Party, none of them has any responsibility for killing anybody in Gaza.
You are responsible for killing babies in Gaza! Shame on you!
Shame on you, that's a good one.
On you! Shame on...
I mean, his brain is completely addled by the sound of things. He's just shouting out these slogans like a programmed robot. So, leaving this fellow on one side for a moment, you know, I'm just wondering if there's something else going on. What occurred to me was that the general public used to leave politicians alone when they were just travelling about. They might protest outside meetings or whatever, but in a public space like a bus or a cafe or a train or whatever, they'd leave them alone. on the grounds that a confrontation isn't polite in that sort of situation, either for the politician or for the other members of the public sitting around him or her. But this harassing, which has become so fashionable recently, well, it will have a result. The result is, well, we've had politicians murdered during meetings with their constituents, haven't we? And if it gets too bad, if this sort of thing keeps on happening, politicians won't be able to take trains anymore. They won't be able to walk among the public anymore. They won't be able to just chat. And chit-chat is where the information really lies very often. So people working in politics will have to maintain a distance, and they won't be able to actually meet or greet without a lot of cumbersome security around them, which is going to, it will restrict the chit-chat. And my belief is that there are interested groups who are aiming for just that. Now, either they're, local type, sort of anarchist type groups, or they're, people with foreign interests or foreign interests. You see, when politicians lose touch with their constituents, that's when democracy breaks down. And in my suspicion, at least some of this is being done deliberately, both by sub-political groups and possibly also, as I said, facilitated by foreign interests. That fellow is simply not rational. But we don't know who's whipping him up and setting him off, do we? Meanwhile, the things Starmer really could influence, he's completely ignoring. And they're the terrible problems as he was heading for Scotland. And there are dreadful problems in Scotland where that nutcase obviously comes from. There's a real problem with drug addiction and alcoholism. There's a much lower life expectancy in Scotland than there is in England. They have a substandard education system, which is just horrific considering the education system in Scotland used to be just about the best in the world. But now it's just slipping from one low to the next. They have a collapsing health service. If ours is in trouble, theirs in 10 times the trouble. And as they say in the adverts, that's not all. Scotland is also rife with inefficiency, wastage and corruption, governmental corruption. And this guy is worried about a bunch of people in the Middle East who'd probably murder him as soon as look at him. I'm sorry, but Hamas are not very moral people, and they are what's causing what's going on in Gaza, and he's shouting on their side. When he is there in Scotland, fully aware of all the problems they have, you'd think people would have more sense, wouldn't you? No, apparently not. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.